my name is Zoe. I'm the Tipsy Psychic, and today we're going to talk about the compatibility between a Scorpio and a Taurus Gemini Cusp. So I am a Gemini, and my high school boyfriend was a Scorpio. A lot of this stuff applies to like adult relationships, but I was with this person for 2 years. And I am going to kind of talk about my experience as well, since it kind of applies to me. Your love has a mind of its own. You think you know what's going to happen next, but it still manages to surprise you. That doesn't mean you don't plan things out, but can you really just stick to the plan? I don't know. What you have is incredibly special. Unconditional love must prevail. You must open your heart if you want things to work. Even when all you want to do is curl up in a ball and not let anyone else in. This also means that you can't expect your Scorpio to make the first move in the beginning. You have to initiate. Don't get bossy though. There is a fine line between being in charge and having a say over your Scorpio. You don't own them. Avoid that unhealthy possessiveness. Don't get me wrong, a Scorpio is fully capable of handling things on their own. And they won't always be okay with letting you wear the pants. Your energy just naturally takes over. As long as you both can take care of the day-to-day tasks together. Don't expect them to take care of the chores. You need to help out too. You aren't very old-fashioned anyway. The whole stay-at-home parent thing for this couple usually isn't a success. This is a very modern dynamic in so many ways. The Scorpio is very independent, but that doesn't mean they're going to be in charge here. If you want something to happen, you will probably be the one that needs to start the momentum. It's easy to talk about the things that you want to do, but only you can really start to take action. I mean, you both can still do it together though. You value each other deeply and you know how lucky you are. It isn't every day that a Scorpio has a relationship with a Taurus Gemini Cusp. So when it does happen, it is very emotional. Emotions are a good thing, but it can also heighten the bad things. Don't snap at your Scorpio. Don't lose your shit. If they do something that bothers you, you need to focus on your path. The relationship won't do well without a goal. As I said, this is a very emotional match, and that is beautiful. You both love to express yourselves, but when all that emotion is amplified, it's easy to forget how awesome it is, and it can feel like a ticking time bomb. It's intense. The best thing you can do for each other is hug it out. Embrace each other. Embrace all of each other. The stuff you like, the stuff you don't like, because you can't love parts of them or certain sides of them. They are human beings just like you. You both need to give each other that unconditional love. Don't expect them to change anything, especially not for you. So they might evolve over time, but you must love them anyway. You might take the first step and be like the initiator, right? You take the first step in this relationship, but it doesn't mean you're going to be the alpha. It's kind of refreshing that you and your Scorpio can take turns with that. That is just how it goes when you jump in. You both have had your heart broken, and it's easy to not want to give it a chance. Especially in the beginning when things can seem too good to be true. You both need to think outside the box. It can feel so easy to get lost in the passion. It feels like time stops when you're together, but you both need to stay productive, and you can point fingers at each other saying like, you're making me late or you're making me procrastinate. Avoid blaming your relationship. Cat, seriously. Ugh. Oh my god. You can't help how powerful it is. You need to think outside the box. Look at your to-do list. Is all that really necessary? Time management should be a priority when you date a Scorpio. It can feel like you are sinking if you're not careful. It's also easy to get wrapped up in what your Scorpio is doing. You get really caught up in their projects, and sometimes you can lose sight of what is important to you. Ground yourself if you want to be with a Scorpio. A Scorpio can be very paranoid. They worry a lot and they're used to their exes rolling their eyes at them. They can be obsessive at times, and you may have to be very tolerant of this. You must be extremely patient with them when they are worrying about something. You know how to get under each other's skin. You know where it hurts the most. And you have a tendency to make jabs at each other when you're frustrated. The more you feel in sync with your Scorpio, the better things will be. You shouldn't guess at everything. You should have a natural understanding of what your roles are in this relationship. You can't rush things. You have to let everything unfold organically if you want this to be a success. One thing to make everything go much smoother is to stop taking everything so seriously. This tends to get in the way of really getting to know each other. Sometimes you have to relax and focus on the love that you share. Always ensure that you both are on the same wavelength. The Scorpio would probably be the one to move into your place. You may not go the same lengths they would. Your Taurus side finds your environment and your coziness, like the coziness of your environment, to have a huge impact on you, on your happiness. You will have to compromise. Don't expect marriage for this couple to be a breeze. You may encounter some power struggles that will get in the way of your domestic lives. This isn't usually that huge of a deal. However, you are usually pretty good at navigating it. Marriage would definitely be easier for this couple if you spend a few years dating first. The longer you are in a relationship before marriage, the more successful that marriage will be. Like, especially if you want to live together, you have to be together for a while before you say your vows. So really, take your time, enjoy yourselves along the way. Don't get married in Vegas or run away to elope. You can tie the knot when the time is right. You feel very responsible for your Scorpio. It can be a lot to juggle. As friends, you might get on each other's nerves, but it's temporary. It's important to remain very clear about everything. Don't leave room for uncertainty in this relationship. Like, be very clear about your intentions. Neither one of you should have to guess at anything. When you're moving in together, expect for you to tend to take the lead. You're very resourceful and you like having a say where you live. I'm not saying they don't, but if you're a Gemini, you know this. You know how your Gemini and Taurus side will mix, and you need to have a say over this. Like, you can't just, it doesn't mean that you have trouble moving around. But what it does mean is that the place has to be your place. You know, it has to feel like home for you. And that doesn't mean you have to have a lot of things in it, but it just means that it has to be the right thing. And you are resourceful and you usually handle these things. And your Scorpio just usually kind of sits back and goes along for the ride. Living together, on the other hand, can be challenging because you're extremely independent and you have your own way of doing things. And you won't enjoy having to defend yourself to them or having to put up with the possessiveness. They are not the boss of you. And that is why in a marriage, it's usually best for you to take the reins. You're usually really good at it here. You were the spark that kind of lit them up, and now they have more to offer you as a spouse. You both are extremely loyal to each other usually. It's scary to love each other this much because you have to trust that they won't take your heart out and like crush it. As friends, you don't get over grudges easily. You never fully let go of their mistakes, but overall, they make great friends. You must never bottle up your feelings. You must always express them to your Scorpio if you want this to work. You're the one who really sorts out all the chaos in your relationship. You can't function in a chaotic environment the way they can. And you can seem anal sometimes when things are all over the place and you're kind of overwhelmed. You're not good at feeling trapped. And the more they try to keep you, the more likely you will not stick around. The sex in this relationship is very steamy and you're usually very sexually compatible. You turn each other on. You can't keep your hands off each other. You must avoid playing the blame game. Pointing fingers is not a healthy way to cope with your ups and downs. Having children is very tricky for these two. You both get very wrapped up in your own shit and your own drama. And it makes it really difficult for you to focus on having kids. Like, how can you focus on your kids when you're so, like, all up in your drama and stuff, you know? You both are emotional beings, and you can let your daily stressors really get in the way of connecting with your family sometimes. So starting a family together may be way too stressful for this couple. You know this will be challenging. You're not stupid. But the fact that you're here watching this video means that you have some faith in your Scorpio. Your Scorpio would probably be the neat freak when they live with you. You bring out their old tendencies. You might actually like not having to take charge all the time. You're used to having to do that. And it may feel safe for you to trust them and be the supportive partner. It certainly simplifies a lot. This type of dynamic usually works with more mature couples. Scorpio really has to be ready to settle down. They won't be so emotionally volatile, and it will be easier for them. So timing might be everything for this couple. Your Scorpio needs to be really careful and not let their mental health interfere with their love life. They often brood, and their darkness can actually be a huge turnoff for you. You might crush on each other for a really long time before you actually confess your feelings. You may not even realize how much of an attraction you have towards them until you tell them how you feel. You have high expectations of each other, the more serious it all gets. But they're on your side anyway. You can accomplish anything together. Don't waste your potential. Your moods might interfere with your sex life, and that is a terrible thing. What you have grows more and more powerful as you express yourself. Just don't criticize them or accuse them of anything, and always stay focused on what you want, because when you lose sight of the future, your marriage will fall apart. You are Mercurial, right? Taurus Gemini. And you can be very good at mind games. So you can also be very manipulative at times. You might feel like 1 minute you have them in your grasp and the next minute they slip through your fingers. This can be a challenge for you, but your Scorpio has this calming effect on you. They help you get through some really dark times. Intimacy is the hallmark of this relationship, especially if intentions are clear. If you have feelings for a Scorpio, you need to tell them. The sooner, the better. The longer you wait, the more dramatic it will be. Don't underestimate this love. It can feel difficult to approve of your Scorpio sometimes. It's easy to get upset at them. They can get possessive, and it's not pretty. You don't owe them anything. But that doesn't mean that a Scorpio doesn't belong with you. You just have a lot to work on. Things are always going on with a Scorpio. And it's nice that you can feel so emotionally synced up with them. It's a very psychic connection. Speaking of psychic connections, as friends, you often bond over the occult or the metaphysical world. You must put the past behind you. You can't let it haunt what you have now. You hold on to so much. But your Scorpio is not your ex. Forgive and forget. Expect a lot of darkness to come up, and when it does, don't put all the burden on your Scorpio. In fact, it's really good for you both to socialize a lot. The last thing you need is to be alone with each other 24/7. Your friends will really help you navigate your ups and downs. I don't know if you could be together without them. You need to trust your spiritual connection. You would make great friends if you share a common desire to be creative. You like making things together? Don't let your relationship self-destruct. It's easy to feel like everything is falling apart when you ask so much of each other. What you have is really special. They might even be your twin flame. Remember, they don't belong to you, they belong with you. There's a difference. Accept each other for who you are, and it will become easier. Surround yourselves with people who care about you and grow your social circle. Don't push others away in order to be with your Scorpio. Your love goes beyond the physical realm. So I'm going to quickly talk about my experience with a Scorpio. So I dated a Scorpio in high school, and it was like my big high school relationship. I had, it was for 2 years, but it was kind of on and off because it was really dysfunctional. Obviously I'm not with them today, obviously, so it didn't work out. I just remember, like, so first of all, we both were really immature. Like, we were in high school, we were exploring love, and we had our sexual awakenings, and what I gotta say is this was an extremely passionate relationship. Oh, like, I felt like it was so intense. Like, I don't know if I've ever been in such a, like, scary, like, not scary, but like when you're falling hard. Like, it's very intense. It's like a whirlwind of passion, whirlwind of desire. I don't really have a type physically. I've dated people that look like, I don't know, all shapes and sizes, and I wouldn't say this person was like someone I see as like good looking or like everyone else would say, but I was attracted to them so much, and it wasn't their looks that I was attracted to. It was like the way they held themselves, their emotional nature, like the way they were. It was so intense, and I just remember we like, oh, man, it was like one of those things where I don't know, he was like a skater boy, you know, and it's just like one of those like high school relationships where you go over to this person's house and you don't really have anything in common with them, but for some reason, like, you're like very horny. It might have been just like teenagers, but I do think there was something there. And we did say I love you, and there was a lot of love, and it got very intense. So I'm not trying to downplay the relationship. I definitely was still discovering myself, and I just really was starting to get, you know, to have sex and explore that, and I wasn't in a place where I was ready to commit to anybody, but I didn't really know that, and I wasn't sure how it all worked, and I was super immature, and I remember cheating on him multiple times, and it just became this really toxic thing, and I'm not proud of that. You know, I haven't cheated on my boyfriend. I don't cheat anymore. But that was something I struggled with because I was so like I don't know, I was so immature, and I was not like nice. I didn't care as much, you know, and I think I loved this person, and you're like, well, yeah, but how can you say I love this person if you cheated on them? I guess I didn't love them enough. And I think they just weren't the one for me. So I'm not trying to justify that, but it was just a really, oh, so many emotions. I would go to his house and we just like make out for hours, and I spent a lot of time with his family, and like we were pretty close, and we spent a lot of time together, and we had the best times, but they weren't times that we were doing anything. They were the best times like to get away from everything. I remember we would go to the park and we just like hang out at the park and just sit there, and all our worries were gone. So that's the kind of dynamic, but it got very possessive. And on my end, I wasn't like digging my claws like mine, but I was like, you know, like, you belong with me. And the Scorpio got very intense. I remember he started becoming very cruel at times when I, you know, obviously trust started to become a problem, and he would leave me these horrible voicemails, and I would cry, and he knew exactly what to say to get under my skin, and he would say things sometimes that made me so insecure, and it was just like not a good relationship. And I remember sometimes I couldn't handle his sense of humor. Like, it was just so vulgar, and I wasn't in a place in my life where I was like really like, I don't know, I became like really big into cussing and swear words and whatever later on. But at that time I was still pretty innocent, I would say. I don't know if innocent is the right word. But I remember just like breaking up with him once because I just couldn't handle the like vulgarness. I couldn't handle it. It was just like some of the jokes he made were just so uncomfortable, and I was like this is really uncomfortable. And you know, I want to be comfortable with the person I'm with, but then there was that attraction and just that need to be with each other and this like obsessiveness. And so it was pretty intense. It was like one of those like teenage infatuations that was just like super intense. And I don't think that it applies really to anyone who has like an adult relationship. I can't speak for them. If you're an adult and you're into a Scorpio, definitely the rest of this video is probably much more helpful. But if any of you can relate to this, let me know. And let me know if you're dating a Scorpio, if you're a Gemini, or if you're a Scorpio and you are dating a Taurus Gemini cusp. Please comment. I want to know your stories. I want to know how you feel. Please subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.